You want to be in the video? You do? Okay. Okay, no, you're gonna have to be quiet though. Welcome back to another video. I hope you've been liking that I've been putting these pulls and pickups out, one after another. And here's Pulls and Pickups episode 8. Here we have Daredevil issue 26. Now I showed this off in the past. This is a variant edition advertising, kind of showing off that the Alien series by Marvel is going to be coming out soon. So soon, in fact, that it's going to be next week. So I'm going to be showing off that issue. That'll be fun. So make sure to tune in for that. And I covered this before. I'll click the card on the top right when I first kind of discussed picking it up, if you actually care. But I'm 99% sure I haven't actually reviewed it. Weirdly enough, I've forgotten. It was a while back, but yeah, so here it is. Spoilers. But so Daredevil's in prison, and what's really interesting is as this plot line has been developing over these past issues, you've really kind of, it's interesting to see how Matt Murdock has kind of questioned why he did this, and it's interesting to kind of see his psychological foundation and the bedrock of his character, and like the fibers of his moral system kind of start to crumble and be the threads being kind of untangled, so to speak. And you really kind of see him go through quite a bit of internal strife and turmoil, because he's really wondering why he's doing what he's doing, and kind of second guessing himself whether what he did was right. Allowing himself to be arrested for a murder that he accidentally committed. He's doing it to basically set an example for other criminals, but he's kind of wondering whether what he really did was right or not. And while he's going to live out his sentence for 2 years, other people are going to be dying out in the real world. So and the art isn't as good as some of the other issues. It's done by that secondary artist that isn't always at the forefront here, but either way. And then we have Elektra, which is basically she's has taken up the mantle of Daredevil, and it's interesting to see her kind of be conflicted as well. It's interesting. Chip Zdarsky is really good at having parallels and kind of having a lot of relationships between the different story arcs that are going on. And we have Daredevil, which is facing internal strife that I just talked about, but Elektra's also facing internal strife between her old self and her new self. She wants to turn over a new leaf. She doesn't want to be bad anymore, and wants to kind of make up for what she did previously. And she's taken up the taken the helm over of Daredevil, and is now defending the city while he's in prison. And seeing her try not to kill people, and even though she wants to, and basically try to hold back her violent urges, so to speak, is quite entertaining. But since this took place in the middle of the King of Black tie-in, you have a bunch of Knoll stuff going on. So the symbiotes have taken over Hell's Kitchen, and Elektra's trying to face that as well. And Matt Murdock is interesting because of his hyper senses. It talks about, it's interesting because as you see him through the story arc so far, and when you've seen him in prison, it's interesting seeing him kind of lie awake in bed, and it's because his senses are so ultra, his sense of hearing and such is so high that he has basically insomnia, because he's kept up by the murmurings and whispers of the many prisoners, and things that they're telling themselves to keep their own sanity, and things that they whisper while they're half asleep. He can hear words that are murmured, and tries to talks about their nightmares and so forth, and the talking of guards and so on. And it's quite interesting, but also sad. But in here, Knoll's onslaught is basically taken over the prison, and Daredevil is let out, as you'll see in a few panels here, and has to try and stop him. But something happens, but we'll get to that in a minute. And you cut to seemingly an unrelated family, you could say, because it's not only two members are really family members, and she's a stepmother, but whatever. We have this young woman, and she's at a bar talking with this guy, and the stepmother comes in and says that she's only 16 and you can't be drinking, are you crazy, and yelling at the guy and all that. And as they are storming off and in a big fight, the last thing that the stepdaughter says to adopted daughter, I should say. Adopted daughter says to the mother is, so you don't care about me, and is basically, yeah, she hit her, right, hit her own mother, and cursed her out, and then told her how you don't care about me, and then right after that, she gets taken over. So yeah, that's not really a good way to end your relationship, but anyways, and she's on the run then, and Elektra is able to hop in and stop her symbiotic mother, or foster mother, I should say. I don't know why I said stepmother, a foster mother. And Elektra and this girl are on the run, and eventually you'll see that Elektra basically takes this girl under her wing. But we cut back to Daredevil in prison, and he's been taken over. He's fighting Null's onslaught, but you'll soon see that he's then taken over by Null, and the fighting continues. Basically, you got some cool art here. It's not as good as some other issues, but it's still good for sure. But the issue, basically, the closing few pages of the issue show that Daredevil, after seemingly defeating Null's onslaught, or the Null's baddies that were led into the prison, he's then taken over, and you get this cool scene where it's pitch black, and he's talking about, before they were talking about the darkness, both Elektra and Daredevil talking about overcoming the darkness, and was it being the light that the world needs, and all this other stuff. And then you have a whole scene where inner monologue between Matt Murdock and Null, and you have the pitch black background there, so that's quite cool. And Daredevil's taken over, so what's going to happen? Is he going to be able to survive? Well, the next issue that I also didn't happen to review is issue 27. Variant cover, once again, advertising the Marvel Masterworks. And in this issue, we continue here, and we have Wilson Fisk, and he's basically is tired of, he talks about how his city keeps being taken from him, and that forces underneath his nose keep crippling his control and basically damaging his reputation. And first it was the storm winds and them taking over the city, and after that it's now aliens, and that something always, powers beyond him are always taking over, and that he needs to get out of his safe. It's like a vault, basically, his as you can see up there. And he's tired of basically lying back and letting his own city continue to fester in its own corruption, and he wants to be an active force in bringing back the peace to the city, sure, but also bringing the city back to his control, so to speak. And here we have Typhoid Mary, to be more specific, and she's also been taken over by the powers of Null and the symbiotes, and Elektra and her basically underling, the woman that young woman that she's trying to save, basically are still on the run and fighting. And Typhoid Mary, basically, what's interesting is that the two symbiotic creatures, both the foster mother and Typhoid Mary, both are fighting back and forth and have basically a dialogue where Typhoid Mary talks about how Null wants death, and the stepmother or foster mother actually doesn't agree and says that Null wants to take over Daredevil, and that you can't kill Daredevil, and that it's about taking over and everything. And of course, this isn't actually Daredevil, and Elektra mentions that, but the symbiotic creatures don't really seem to notice. And Daredevil, what's interesting is that in these scenes when he's both fighting, but he's also inside of his mind, you see that there's like this kind of visual construct here while he's basically talking to Null. And there's some cool kind of religious dialogues that goes on, and about how Null talks, how Matt Murdock talks about how he's a man of God, and then Null says that he is God, and having Null taunt him and talks about how, oh, do you really believe in God, and how, people like you cry when people they love die, and why is that if you know they're going to a better place, and and it's because they don't go to a better place, and that you're living a lie and all this other stuff. It's very good. I love the dialogue between the two, and it's real interesting having, that's the thing that's so great about this series, Chip Zdarsky's Daredevil, is that there's more than just one facet. There's so much going on at once. You have Wilson Fisk and his whole relationship with Typhoid Mary and him trying to take back over the city, and his relationship with the Stormwinds and the Owl and so forth. And now you have Elektra and her taking up the mantle of Daredevil, and then you have all the different strifes of Matt Murdock and his trying to basically take care of people in prison and fight against people that are hurting others and so forth, and his religious issues and his insomnia and all this stuff. It's so much to wrestle with, so much is going on, and I just love it, right? Because it's more than just he's good at, the series is more than just good at doing one thing. It more than just has multiple things going on. It does both. It's good at doing multiple things, and it's doing them all at once, but without being too overwhelming. If there was anything more going on, it probably would be, but it's just right? There's just enough going on. It's not boring at all because there's so much going on, but at the same time, it's not overwhelming either because of the way it's well written and how there's kind of similarities between the different things going on. You'll jump from one fight scene to another, and Elektra will talk about, like I said in the last issue that I was covering. Elektra will talk about fighting, being the light that Matt Murdock, that the city needs, and was it fighting off the darkness and all this other stuff. And then you had, like I said, you had Noel talking to Matt Murdock in his mind and talking about being like joining the darkness or whatever. So there's all these parallels basically going on, and it's just so well done, right? And the art here is still done by that secondary artist, I'm pretty sure. Almost positive here, but here's it's not as good as it could be, but that's like the only flaw here. It's really good, and well, besides something else I'll get to in a second. But and then we have after he's being taken over after he's done fighting, he feels that he's fully going to be taken over by Noel if he doesn't do something, so he actually straps himself to an electric chair, as you can see, and is going to fry himself in hopes that it will kill Noel but not kill him. And that was kind of a shocking scene, but before it's over kind of quickly, and he's fine. And that's a little bit of a problem. I think, you can't have him die, right? Especially in a scene like this, because there's so much more that needs to be done before. If Daredevil's not going to die, but if he ever was going to die, now wouldn't be the time. So it makes sense that he's going to be fine. But I wish there was more. Was more dwelt on it a bit. It was over pretty fast. He enters the room, right? He enters the room on one page. Yeah, he enters the room on one page. He has another page with a little internal monologue with a few panels here, and then one more. So like 2.5 pages basically dedicated to it, of this, 3 pages, 2.5, whatever you want to say. And then it's over, and it was a little bit kind of like, I don't want to say a Deus Ex Machina, but it was a little kind of contrived that the whole thing about Noel being inside him was just kind of being killed instantly like that. It was a little too quick, but whatever. Scenes like or events, comic events, Chip Zdarsky could have handled the whole needing to include the symbiotic army and Noel. He could have included the whole King in Black stuff way worse, but he was, he's such a good writer, he's able to juggle all this stuff he's normally juggling, and throw in the other thing about Noel and the King in Black stuff. It could have been handled way worse, and I've heard from people's reviews of other King in Black tie-ins that it was handled worse in a number of series, but still a complaint though, and that's not perfect, and the art and such, I said, isn't as good as it could have been, but other than that, it's really a standout issue. It really is great, and that cues us up for the most recent issue in the series, which I showed off before, like 2 pulls and pickups ago, I think it was, and issue 28, and we have Elektra, and she's basically she's finished what I said about taking the woman under her wing, the young woman that her mother was taken over by Null and is presumably dead now, and is living with Elektra currently. And then we have the other plot line going on of everything everything King in Black Wise is finished, but this is kind of the fallout of those events that took place. So again, Elektra, the woman, is under Elektra's wing, and Typhoid Mary is in the hospital now and recovering from what happened, and she's still alive. And Wilson Fisk is basically visiting her and feels bad for what happened in I believe it was issue 26, when all this first went down, and because they fleed into him and his basically manservant or partner, whatever you want to call him. They left and fled, despite Wilson Fisk wanting to stay and help Typhoid Mary, and she was kind of left in the dust, and he feels bad about that and basically wants to talk to her. So there's that going on. And so yeah, once again with the parallels, Elektra is talking to the young woman and is trying to console her. Wilson Fisk is trying to console and talk to Typhoid Mary, and Daredevil is being talked to by his ex-girlfriend, which she doesn't know that he's Matt Murdock's ex-girlfriend, which she doesn't, the ex-girlfriend doesn't know that Matt Murdock is Daredevil, and she's also a lawyer, so she's trying to basically help him, as you can see there. And the conversations go on, and Elektra basically is trying to console her and says that she lost her parents too, and that I know it's hard and everything, but you'll soon grow past that, and your sadness will soon grow to progress into anger. And the way she says it's kind of charming there. And then you have a dialogue between Wilson Fisk and Typhoid Mary about how Typhoid Mary talks about how she never felt better earlier on when she first joined Wilson Fisk, and she felt like she was getting her life back, but after all this, it's like things were taken from her again. And then there's the parallel, of course, to Kingpin about how things were taken from him too. His city was taken from him. So there's kind of an interesting thing where they both were robbed of something, and they both feel like their lives are collapsing in on themselves, both affected by the whole King of Black thing and event. And then you go back to Matt Murdock, and he's talking to his, unknowingly to her, to his ex-girlfriend, and is going on about how he wants to be in here, and that she's talking about trying to get him out and stuff, and that doesn't make any sense why you're doing this, and he's talking about how it's what needs to be done, and that I need to set an example. And then we fast forward to later on in the day, I suppose, and he's off at lunch and is talking to different inmates there, and you basically get to hear more about what others think of him. And he also runs into someone that you wouldn't think will be important, but is, sort of. And what's Neil? There you go. Nervous Neil is his nickname, and he's a murderer and everything. And Matt Murdock is kind of hesitant to talk to him, and also because of his rambling and basically the headspace that Matt Murdock is in, he kind of brushes him off and leaves. And then he's also called off to talk to a therapist, and whole thing goes on. You basically get more conversations as to, she's wondering, kind of talking about why have you actually put yourself through this? Why are you doing this? You're not setting an example. You're still going to be viewed as better than other people. And that something that's been talked about is how since he has his mask on, and he's, because of certain laws in the Marvel universe, superheroes are able to conceal their identities. Vigilantes that are working for the law are able to conceal their identities, and he's able to. Matt Murdock wasn't arrested. Daredevil was arrested. So Matt Murdock. So after Daredevil leaves prison, he's still able to take off his mask and become Matt Murdock. and not have kind of a reputation for what he did, and he's basically able to have this clean slate. And that seems unfair, but that's the way that the law works in the MCU. There's a whole thing a few issues back when this all first started explaining it in more detail, but basically, yeah, that's the gist there. And after that scene, we go to seemingly night, because they're all being locked up and being put away for the night, seemingly. And nervous Neil is being having the crap beaten out of him in the showers, but Matt Murdock hears it and is able to come in and try and defend himself, and is able to defend him, and is fighting all these guys off. And of course there's perfect little the camera never pans low enough, and there's always little bits of steam just to cover parts, but the police are able to come in, and everything seems fine. It seems as if the bad guys were stopped, and Neil is okay, and Matt Murdock is going to get, punished for this probably, but ultimately he's going to probably be able to bear the weight better than Neil, right? Well, you'll see that's not actually the case. And he's thinking about what happened throughout the day, and he gets more reflections and such, and that he can hear Neil crying in the other room. And then we learn the next day that he's called in to the therapist and hears that Neil actually killed himself in the night, and seemingly couldn't handle everything that was happening. And Matt Murdock feels responsible because he wasn't able to console him or talk to him during lunch, and how he, as we talked about earlier, he skipped out on their engagement basically and kind of cut him short, and that he in ways feels responsible. And also because also because he says that he's responsible for this and that he put him in here, and she says no, it was Spider-Man, we looked at the records, and he says because I was the one that prosecuted him. So as Matt Murdock, he was the one that was a lawyer that was against him. So yeah, he feels quite responsible, and that's a whole nother layer. How will that affect him in the future? How will that affect further plot developments? Who knows? And then Wilson Fisk talks about how he's going to take back his city, and that he's tired of sitting back and letting his city basically be taken from him and controlled by others and other forces, and that he's ready to take back the city that was once his. And he says that the first thing he's going to do is to kill Daredevil. So that's another crazy development that's going to arrive. And then finally we have Elektra talking to the girl that he took under his wing, and basically telling her what I actually mentioned earlier. I think it happens right here about that. And when you're finally ready to be angry, meet me in the gym. And that, so will she become her underling in fighting crime, for example? I don't know. That's a guess here. Who knows? And basically we hear more about Matt Murdock and how he's really. We hear that he's having a hard time taking it. Obviously, even more so. Things just keep getting worse for him, but especially because he's been poisoned, and that's how that issue ends. So much going on. We have developed all three of those arcs or all three of those plot lines are all coming together in this arc, and it's really culminating together in this, like, it was amazing, and it's just getting better and better, this series. And it's great. After issue 28 here we have Captain America Anniversary Tribute. This is 80-year anniversary of Captain America just happened a little while ago, and this is an issue that came out celebrating. It's really great. If you like Captain America at all, pick this issue up. It's $7, but it's worth it. Why is it worth it though? I'm gonna tell you. That cover's cool, by the way. Avengers issue 4 tribute, basically. And speaking of tribute, this whole issue is a tribute. It's actually a combination, oversized combination of issue 1 of Captain America and from 1941, and also Avengers issue 4 from 1963, I believe. And the interesting thing is, it's more than just, in a way it's good, in a way it's bad. So in a way, this thing I'm going to say is good. In a way, it's bad. It's cool that I really like that it's collections of 2 great issues, but first time reading both of them in here, and I like them quite a bit. But what's kind of good and bad is that they're all redrawn, so you don't get that original classic art. And some people might not like the art from those times, but I certainly did. The Golden Age art I'm not as crazy about. It's a little too rough for me in ways, but the 60s art that Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, Stanley didn't do the art. Jack Kirby, Stanley's writing is fantastic, but Jack Kirby's art from the 60s in general, and I mean onwards, is just fantastic. And I would have preferred seeing that and the original 40s art as well, just because I'm more into that style. But what they did instead is interesting, but has pros and cons. And what they did was that each page is done by a different artist, I believe, or each page is done alternates between a wide list of artists. I think each page is a different artist, if I remember correctly. Yeah, because look at all these. Page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, all the way through here. And so there's 2 stories that were in issue 1 of Captain America, and then issue 4, all those artists. So it bounces back and forth. So in a way, this is cool, because if you eventually, I want to just own different omnibuses that contain. I want to own the first Avengers omnibus that contains issue 4, and I want to own the Captain America Golden Age omnibus, which contains this issue. So in a way, this kind of helps if you're going to get those issues at one point anyways, or even if you aren't. This kind of helps differentiate it, right? It helps it stand apart. So even if you own those, even if you are going to read those in some other form or whatever, this kind of makes it special in a way, the fact that the art is different. But it also, since it alternates between so many different styles, it also feels kind of like an inconsistent jumbled mess. And that's not to say that the issue's an inconsistent jumbled mess, but the art sort of is. This art I quite like. This art isn't as good, so it jumps back and forth here. And that's, you might like it, you might not, but personally, I think I would have preferred if there was just kind of one style. Like if they're going to do the whole new art thing, I think they should have stuck with one kind of art style. You got like this anime almost art style there. That was cool to see. And that was the nice thing too, though. It was cool to see so much versatility though in the art. And as you can see here, here's the woman here. I forget exactly who she is, and then you skip here, and this is what she looks like over here. So she goes from like a young anime looking woman to like an old like lunch lady. I don't know. Anyways, but the stories themselves quite good. In the first issue of Captain America, you have the origins, you have Bucky Barnes and him being basically taken under Captain America's wing, and that was all interesting. And you basically get to see the origins of the Red Skull and so forth, and that's all quite great. And then you get Captain America issue 4 of the Avengers. That's the writing in the event in Captain America issue 1 was good, but the writing was a little stiff. And the Avengers issue 4, however, it's a lot more my speed. You got a lot more action and amazing art right here. I got to talk about that in a second. But also the storytelling seems a lot more, you can really tell that 20 years had gone by between the 2 issues. The writing's a lot more my speed. And here we have Captain America being woken up from the ice. That's the big significance of Avengers issue 4 and why it's included here. He was around briefly in the 50s, Captain America, but after that he was tossed aside because of the war being over after that point, and him feeling to some people at the time feeling like a relic of World War II. So after World War II was over, and also superheroes weren't as popular in the 50s. It's kind of the downfall of the superhero genre in comic books, and other genres started to flourish. But as Marvel started leaning back more into superheroes and the whole genre, or in the whole medium, I should say, and the whole medium started leaning back into superheroes, they wanted to bring Captain America back. So they did it in this way, where he woke up from the ice that he fell into after he and Bucky were chasing a plane, basically, and they both fell. Bucky didn't fall. He was taken off, was still attached to the plane as it flew off and blew up. And had a bomb attached to it, and they didn't know that, and a cat fell into the waters below and froze. And this panel, though, best panel in the whole book. I just love that, the shiny kind of realistic reflections there. I forget what artist I'm thinking of, but it looks as if it's inspired by a certain artist. He did is it the Marvels? Is that what it's called? Marvels. I think it's just called Marvels. Yeah, I think so. And that was like 90s, I think it's when it was. It looks very similar to that style. I'm pretty sure it must be inspired by that or something. Could be the same artist, but I'm not going to hedge my bets on that. And yeah, that's basically the gist of that. And issue's quite good. That issue as well. The Captain America issue 1 was a good issue, but Avengers issue 4 was really good. And overall, though, as a whole package, totally worth the asking price, even though it's higher than $4 or whatever. It's still definitely worth it. I enjoyed, even though the art was its inconsistency was kind of annoying. I enjoyed the whole idea of doing it. It was cool. It was special. And since I'm a big fan of Captain America, it was definitely worth picking up for me. And if you're a fan of Captain America, you definitely should too. Speaking of past issues, though, I'm going to go through these quite fast. I picked up a number of reprints, and this is Avengers 19, and it's first appearance of the Swordsman, and this was real quick here. I'm just going to go through these. I'm going to be picking more of these up in the future because I enjoy them so much. $1 reprints are their asking price, and they're just reprints of random stories that normally they are reprinted for some reason, like it's the first appearance of this character, or it's a famous issue, or it's relating to a movie that's going to be coming out soon, or whatever. And this issue was definitely enjoyable. Avengers issue 19, first appearance of the Swordsman. He's trying to join the Avengers team, but he's also a bad guy, and seeing him try to weasel his way in despite him having a criminal past. I mean, sure, Hawkeye had a criminal past, but this guy hasn't turned over a new leaf, so to speak. But speaking of Hawkeye, he has certain ties to Hawkeye, so you get a flashback and get kind of some or not really origins, but get some basically telling events of it tells different events of Hawkeye's past, and basically kind of shows you he trained him to be the fantastic archer that he is. And later on, after the Swordsman can't break into the Avengers, he gets the help from the Mandarin and is able to, uses the Mandarin's powers that the Mandarin has bestowed him and given him through his advanced technology. And he's basically being used as a pawn by the Mandarin to break back into the Avengers and stop Iron Man once. And overall, should you read this issue? I mean, if you want to, right? It's not a bad issue at all. It's a little slow at times, but overall it was enjoyable for sure. This is part 1 of like a 2-part story arc, though, just so you know. So the next issue, it doesn't tell you the name on the front, the issue number on the front, which is kind of annoying with these reprints. A lot of these reprints, especially the ones I'll be showing off, these 2 others in a minute, it'll tell you True Believers, and then it will tell you what number it is in the True Believers series, right? No, it'll give you first appearances in the True Believers series, as far as I'm aware. It'll tell you what first appearance of what character it is, and then if there's multiple issues that come past that feature that character, then they'll be numbered past that. So the next appearance of Swordsman, if it was reprinted, would be True Believers number 2. Empire Swordsman, something like that. Anyways, I think it's a little confusing. I don't know why they don't just tell you the numbers. But anyways, so yeah, this issue, if you're gonna read this issue, make sure and read issue 20 as well, Avengers number 20. This is 19. 20 continues the story and finishes it off, so ends on a cliffhanger. Don't just read that by itself. It's actually, issue 20 is actually included on Comixology, though, just so you know, for free if you have the Comixology Unlimited subscription. This is True Believers number 1, Annihilation Mantis. So this is the first appearance of Mantis, I believe. and I think that's why it was reprinted. And this issue is just a crazy issue. Again, I don't want to dwell on these for too long, but this features a lot of Black Panther, a lot more than actual Mantis, and it was a little hard to follow. That was my main issue with it. It was hard to follow, but it was a good issue because there was so much action going on, and it was just kind of crazy. The end was a little bit of a Deus Ex Machina. There was Thor's kind of electrocuting him, getting up at the last second, and then calling upon lightning that electrocutes this lion god's staff, African god, and electrocuting him, and then like sending him back to his domain. That was a little bit crazy. It was just kind of last minute and felt like, out of the blue, forced, contrived, whatever word you want to use. But other than that, the issue works quite well. And again, it's a little hard to follow, but the artwork, as you can see, is just fantastic. This is like my favorite era of comic artwork. If you want to know what my favorite period of artwork is mostly like 60s and 70s for the most part. Marvel, most of their series were drawn in this kind of way, with this like colorful and I don't know exactly how to describe it, cartoony kind of art style. I don't know, I like it quite a bit, and it's just a lot of fun, especially with all this kind of African lore stuff, because there's like African gods and like protesters and like magics of sorts and stuff, and you get cool little like kind of Kirby dots and stuff in certain shots, and it's just a lot of fun. Next up, we have Giant-Sized Avengers, True Believers, Empire Vision. This isn't the first appearance of Vision, so I don't exactly know. Oh yeah, this is, by the way, this issue is issue 112. Geez, 112 of Avengers. So we jump forward quite a bit, and this is Giant-Sized Avengers number 4. Yeah, Giant-Sized Avengers number 4, 1974. And so twice as big, pretty much, or 1.5 times as big as a normal issue. This one was just, it was way too hard to follow. There's so many characters and so much going on. There was a lot going on in those other issues. Not exactly the Swordsman, but there was a lot going on in Annihilation Mantis, whatever it was, issue 112 of the Avengers. But this had like twice as big, well, twice as much or 3 times as much going on. It was too much. And there were tons of villains and everything, and it was just overcharged. And that would be a good thing if I knew more about the Avengers, but I don't know. I know enough because I've seen every MCU movie, or almost every MCU movie, and I've read a number of Avengers issues, but I had no clue what was going on. It was just too much, and there was a lot of mythos surrounding Mantis, more than Annihilation Mantis reprint, but Mantis and her origins, and certain like some kind of cosmic connection between her, Mantis, and her sister, and kind of she's supposed to be a god or something, and it's just very weird. There's some cool action and some kind of cool weird scenes where one villain sends himself through time 3 different times in order to appear 3 different times at this at the Avengers kind of the area, the like field and like jungly area outside of the Avengers mansion. He went back in time 3 different times to create 3 different versions of himself to disorientate and like distract the Avengers, so he would have 3 different versions of himself. So he went through time 3 times. It's a very weird concept. Like, how does that work? But I guess it works. I guess, like, can 3 yous exist in the same time at once if you did that? I don't know, it's very weird, but it was kind of a cool concept, and there was a few other things like that. But overall, this issue was just too murky in terms of there was a lot of dialogue and a lot of flashbacks and flash forwards and stuff to try and explain what was going on, but it just wasn't nearly enough. It felt like 5 or 6 issues, 8 issues all crammed into one. Unless you're a diehard Avengers fan, don't go out of your way to read this just because you're like, oh, it's a wedding between Vision and Scarlet. That sounds like it's kind of cool, kind of fun, kind of lighthearted, kind of a... Yeah, no, it's not. It's a very heavy read, and you have to know a lot about Marvel lore to actually get a lot out of it, at least in my opinion. Maybe I'm crazy, maybe other people will get it, but I certainly didn't. Again, I haven't read a lot, but I mean, I've watched enough and read enough Wikipedia articles and enough comics to, I would think, to understand at least some of it, but I barely understood anything. This is Prey, part 5 of 6. This arc's almost over with Donald Blake. This is issue 13. I haven't read this yet, but I'll be telling you what I thought of in the next polls and pickups. But Odin is back. Odin is back, yeah. And he has to help Jane Foster fight off Donald Blake, and she's basically gathering her party together, talking to Beta Ray Bill here, as you can see, and I imagine they're going to be doing their best to stop Donald Blake and finish the fight. I mean, there's one more issue after this, so they don't finish the fight yet, I guess, but quite cool, super colorful, as you can see. And you see all those characters hop through. You know, you got Lockjaw, Doctor Strange, Jane Foster and her Pegasus, or that's Jane Foster, another Valkyrie and her Pegasus, Beta Ray Bill and everybody. An ad. Oh, you see another ad. All fighting together. It looks crazy. I don't want to flip too much farther, but big fight going on, it looks like, and it's cool that Beta Ray Bill is included here. I wonder how the Beta Ray Bill miniseries is coming out. Like, is it next week? No, like 2 weeks from now, the first issue of the Beta Ray Bill miniseries is coming out. So I'm actually going to be covering this here, so stay tuned. And I wonder how this is going to tie into that. This is going to tie into that, and how that ties into this. That's it, though. I'm not going to go over that for very long, and we're closing out here. We got The Walking Dead issue 1. I picked up a reprint of this. I was so happy that I saw this. I'm not going to talk very much about it, but if you haven't seen me cover The Walking Dead before on this channel, click the card in the top right. I go over kind of what The Walking Dead Deluxe is and what I thought of issues 8, 9, and I was supposed to show off 10, but that's actually the funny thing. I forgot to add in the clip, so you're going to be seeing that clip shortly here in just a minute. But before I do, let me tell you a little bit here. Yeah, The Walking Dead Deluxe is a reprint of every single Walking Dead issue. The Walking Dead series went on for like 17 years, something like that, like 190 or whatever issues, and now it's going through and they're reprinting the series in color this time. So if you want to read The Walking Dead, you haven't read it yet, or you're a big fan of it, and you probably already know this, but if not, they're being reprinted now. Hop on board, man. It's a great ride. I haven't read The Walking Dead up until this point, and it's great. I'm loving every minute of it. I'm out there, and I'm loving every minute of it. It's fantastic. You got to hop on board. More thoughts in the top right on that video that I did. But yeah, and issue 1 is a great place to start, of course, because it's issue 1. Next up, this is future me, this is current me, and I'm going to send you over to past me, and we're going to cover issue 10. And basically you see that he's going to kill him, but he doesn't, and the guy actually says that his neighbor that he's actually staying with, he's a doctor and is going to be able to hopefully help his son, Rick's son. So they all head off to, or Rick and the man head off to the farm that the neighbor lives at in hopes of helping the son, and Rick's friend there decides to, or is told to go back to the camp and basically tell everybody what's up and to meet them at the farmhouse. So, of course, the wife is, freaking out, and they all head off to the farm, excuse me, and they're chit-chatting, Rick and the wife, and they're chit-chatting. I shouldn't say that if it's like drama, but anyways, and the doctor thinks he's going to be able to help his son and that things will be fine, but you have to wait and see. And while they're there, the father, or the man of the house of the farm, says basically that they're all allowed to stay there for as long as they need until the son is healed up, basically, and that's perfect for them, right? Because right before this, if anything, it was like a stroke of good luck. Don't get mad that I'm saying this, but it almost was in a weird way, right? In a weird way, it was almost a good thing that the son got shot, because not that he should have gotten shot, but at the same time, they wouldn't have found the camp here. Why do I say camp? The group wouldn't have found the farm otherwise, and wouldn't have ran into shelter, and wouldn't have gotten the food that they have, and so forth. So it was there was a silver lining to it. Let's just put it that way. And they're meeting the new cast, the daughters and that the farmer has, and they're talking about the son and so forth. And you see, once again, different character dynamics and such. And the man that lost his wife in the last issue, I forget. Geez, I said his name, Dale. What was it? Anyways, nonetheless, he lost his wife in the last issue, and he's mourning over her, but isn't able to get over it, and time has passed, and he still isn't able to. And one of the women of the camp is trying to console him, basically, and he's kind of bursts out on her, and it's sad because she's talking about how he needs to be strong for his two sons. But he's so stricken with grief, he's not able to, and he's also not even able to see that she's trying to help him, and basically has an outburst, and pisses her off, and that ain't good. And it kind of once again, it's setting up plot developments that will come further, I imagine. I don't know, I haven't read further, but have I? No, I haven't. I'm going to on Comixology. I'm loving this series so much, though. I'm going to start reading on Comixology further, because I can't wait 2 weeks, man. 2 weeks is too long to wait. I'm gonna read further, and then pick up reread the issues as I pick them up as well. That's how much I'm enjoying this. It's really good, and I have a lot of issues to look forward to, right? 190 something. It's crazy, and you can look forward to me talking about them. So yeah, and then Rick and his wife are happy that the son has woken up, and are talking to him basically about all that has happened. And what's funny is that the son, one of the first things he talks about is that he's basically obsessed with his hat, and was talking about what happened to my hat. Is it okay? All that kind of thing. Nobody better have taken my hat. And so forth, and his hat's okay, obviously. And the daughter of that other woman that we saw a few panels ago. I don't know people's names, man. I'm bad with names. As you know me, as you'll learn from me, I'm bad with names. Anyways, and they're talking, and that's a cute scene. And what's kind of, once again, with the whole, I don't know if this is setting up plot details for further, or what the reason for this is, but one of the members also talks to the wife and says that, I don't know if you cheated on your husband or not, but if you did, you better keep it to yourself. If I were you, I'd keep it to yourself, and I don't want to shame you and all this kind of stuff, but I'm begging you to take it to your grave. And she's, of course, all pissy. But yeah, it's kind of interesting plot details about Rick is really losing his kind of sanity as throughout these issues, and just at the end of the last issue, as we saw, he was going to kill the guy, right, in cold blood right there. So he's really starting to lose it, and kind of having that drama of something big like that both Rick and his wife both know. It seems like everybody knows that she cheated, but it's kind of one of those things where it's just kind of interesting that, is she going to tell him what's going to happen? Is he going to snap? I don't know. And then the big reveal at the end here is that they were talking about how there's not enough room in the house to keep all of them, and they said that they could stay out in the barn. Rick suggests that we could take up the barn, and the main man of the house says, no, that's where we keep our dead ones. So, dead family members, I assume. Welcome back. Was it fun? I hope it was fun. I hope I did a good job there. Issue 11. This is current me right now. Issue 11 I haven't read yet, but here we have, he's discovering that there's basically bodies, or zombies, I should say, the bodies of the family that has basically taken him and the other members under their wing. After accidentally shooting Carl, Otis takes Rick and Carl to the nearby Green family farm for help. The owner here, Herschel, used to be a veterinarian and is able to patch up Carl. He invites the other visitors to stay and introduces them to his 6 children. One of them, Maggie, begins a romance with Glenn, but times get difficult when Herschel reveals that their barn is full of the dead. So there's that, and you see some yelling here, some text boxes that are sharp. So it seems like some stuff's going to go down, and I flipped through this before, and looks like stuff does go down. Look at that. Crazy stuff. Some members of the party look like they die. And some love interests continue. So I'm excited to check that out. Let's look at these cover variants, actually. Well, that's a crazy looking cover variant. Just crazy. Doesn't seem like it has much to do with this actual issue, but who knows. This was what the original cover looked like. And this is what the cover looks like now. I like this a lot more. Quite cool there. Colors are, of course, a lot more vibrant, but also you could say it fits better with the series when it was in black and white. This might fit well, you could say, since the series is in color, or kind of more reminds me of the TV show because of the way the lighting is there. I haven't actually seen the TV show, but I've seen like half an episode ages ago, and of course I've seen clips and trailers and all that kind of stuff, so that's what I mean by it reminding me of it. And yeah, these issues are just fantastic. You also get the cutting room floor, which basically tells you what was cut, what was on the cutting room floor, what changed throughout the issue's development and all that. That's great to see. And you also get the letter pages from back in the day, and those are always fun to read. There's so many of these, and even if I don't read all of them, or even if they aren't all interesting, what makes an issue feel more substantial, feel like you're getting your $4 worth, besides the issue being great, is that Image prints these in this nice format with the page quality is higher. It's like nice thick pages, very clean looking. You have these cardstock covers. They don't charge more for variant covers like some companies do, and they include they don't have any ads, which is nice, and they include a bunch of extra pages in the back. I mean, geez, you're really getting your money's worth here. You get the issue, you get all these extra, you get the high quality format, you get all these extra pages. It's great. If you want to read The Walking Dead, hop on now. That was it. That was everything. I covered a lot of stuff. Hopefully I covered it in a manner that was enjoyable to watch. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Do you want me to keep covering random reprints that I pick up, or old issues that I pick up? Should those be in their own video? I kind of think that I might do that, especially because some of these pulls and pickups are quite full. Maybe for certain pulls and pickups that aren't that full, I won't do that. But a lot of stuff to show off here, a lot of stuff that I read. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, tell me. If you didn't, also tell me. And because feedback is always very much appreciated. I thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a good rest of your day, evening, night, whatever's going on, and I'll see you in the next one. Aloha.